Hey, good morning, you guys. I just wanted to give a better update than the one that I did yesterday at the hospital. I didn't realize it was coming in really, really bad, um, because there's no internet access really inside or outside the hospital. And I had it on mobile data for a little bit, and it just was coming in bad. So, just to recap, I'm sorry, I'm a mess. I just kind of woke up a little while ago. My tics have been really active. I've got tic syndrome associated to Tourette's from my childhood, and when I get stressed out, I start ticking a lot in my throat. So I'll be clearing it often. um, so to recap, what happened was Monday afternoon, Gerald called me at 5 o'clock and he was not acting correctly. I didn't even know that was him on the phone. I thought it was a stranger that had picked up his phone and, like there was an accident and this guy was talking to me asking if this was Laura. And I'm like, yeah. And they said it again. And I said, yes, this is Laura. And then they said, okay, this is Gerald. And I'm like, well, why do you sound so different? And so he told me that he was having a difficult time seeing, and he had just left work and was sitting in the parking lot. And I said, just take your time. What's going on? Tell me your symptoms, blah, blah, blah. So I went to go relay the message with Shiloh in her home. And as most of you know, Shiloh and her dad live in their own apartment here in the same apartment complex right across the courtyard. So I went over there, told her that Dad's going to be a little late and that he's trying to be able to see correctly to come home safely. She told me that morning, Monday morning, when she was getting ready for school, her dad was not even talking. He got up way before her. He was sitting down drinking his coffee, and he was waving and smiling at her, but not talking. Then he went to her room and was snapping for her attention and motioning for her to follow him. He pointed at the clock in the dining room, tapped on his wrist, pointed at the clock again, and then pointed at the freezer, and then had her open it, and then pointed, I think, at the waffles or something. And she asked him, Dad, why are you not talking? What's going on? And he couldn't explain it. He couldn't get words out. And when she's telling me this, I said, okay, I'm going to go home. I'm going to pack my backpack of necessities, whatever. And then I'm going to wait for your dad to come home. And I want to kind of visually see for myself how he's acting. And so he beat me to it. I went over there. Shiloh came out and said he just got here. He stumbled up the stairs and plopped on the bed. Now, a neighbor of mine said last night that she saw him come home, and the way he pulled in, he did not look well at all, and that he was just hunched over trying to make it to the door. So when I went in, he was laying on his air mattress in his living room, and I asked him if he was all right. I had him sit up slowly. And as many people know, when they're not really making sense and talking correctly, you want to do a bunch of questions to make sure it's not a stroke. You want them to put their arms above their head, touch their nose, you know what I mean? And I was researching and doing Google about, signs of a stroke. I thought he was having one. I wasn't going to diagnose it, but I just told him, no matter what, I think we need to call 911. He sat at the edge of his bed, and he put his hands over his face, and he was crying. And this man never cries. I asked him what was wrong. He said he could not remember what he did last night when going to bed. And I said, well, what do you mean? What does that matter? And it's because a few days prior, he got up at 2 in the morning to go to the bathroom. And he said when he was finished, he immediately just fell over in the bathroom. Fell all the way over, hit his head on the wall, and fell over. He didn't pass out. He just fell to the floor. Hit his knee, I think, on the ground or maybe the tub, and had to crawl his way to the living room, and he couldn't get up on the bed, which is only a few feet off the floor. He's got like double stacked air mattresses, you know. So he laid there and just slept. So I think when he was crying the next day, he was trying to figure out, you know, if it happened again. I said, don't worry about that. So then I asked him who the president of the United States is. Like we all want to remember that. But anyway, that's a different story. I asked him like 6 times because he had a blank stare on his face. I said, Gerald, the president, do you know who the president of the United States is? And then he leaned over and he said, well, let me grab my glasses first. Picked up his glasses off the floor and put them on his face and looked at me and kept staring at me. And I go, Gerald, it's President Trump. And he goes, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, I remember that dummy. So it's 6 minutes and 15 seconds here. I'm going to stop this, upload it, and do part 2.